Hello and welcome back to Mindset Matters. My name is Victoria Williamson. Thank you for joining me today. I'm very excited for this episode. We're doing a little Q&A. A little bit ago I did a question box on Instagram. Asked you guys what questions you had about mindset. So I'm going to answer a few of those questions today, and then we're going to get into a quote of the week. Now, I'm also excited because I've just transitioned to YouTube for the channel. So if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, I would highly appreciate if you would go check out the YouTube page and subscribe. It would really help me out. I'm excited to make video content and kind of just have a few different avenues for where people can tune in. So again, thank you ahead of time for going and checking that out. And let's get into some questions. So I'm gonna kind of wing it. I didn't really look at these questions too hard before recording this, so we'll see what we have. Okay, the first one I'll answer. Why does reflecting on past mistakes matter? I think that each situation is a chance for us to grow and an opportunity for growth. And life is not going to be perfect. We're not going to be perfect. I think in every period of our life, there's going to be times where we feel like we made mistakes. But what I try to do is not look at a mistake as a regret, because you can always learn from it. But learning takes self-reflection. So with this question, why should you reflect? Well, you should reflect so that you don't make the same type of mistake again. And you should reflect so that you're able to think about, like, okay, what is it that went wrong? How can I improve? And like, what part of the situation is in my control? Because sometimes the mistake, I think, stems from this want to control everything when we can't. So if you can realize that maybe you just need to loosen your grip a little bit, and the way you view the situation will transform, then that could just be it. And that could be how you kind of improve in the situation. All right, next up, how do you de-stress? So this one's a little challenging right now. My biggest distressor would be exercise. I love moving my body. I love going to the gym. I am very big on just working out. I love how it makes me feel. I love how my body looks when I feel like I've been working out consistently. So it just overall makes me feel better. However, right now, I injured my knee. So how do I do stress when I can't exercise? Well, one thing I've been trying to do is like stretch as much as I can. Yoga is a really nice de-stressor. I do try to do guided meditations regularly. I also enjoy reading, and reading is one of those things for me that I enjoy when I kind of get lost in a book and the time passes and I'm like, oh my gosh, I just spent 30 minutes or 45 minutes reading. And it's a good waste of time, it feels like, versus feeling like, oh, I just scrolled on Instagram for 30 minutes. So definitely de-stress by deconnecting and focusing on whatever task at hand, or reading, or doing some form of artwork is just always another fun one for me. So those are my de-stressors. Next one. Any tips on how to change the channel from a negative funnel to a positive spin? So basically, how can you change the cycle of looking at things negatively? I think honestly, every single situation can be looked at from a positive angle. And for me, it stems from surrender. You have to allow yourself this window or this like space of just, okay, it is what it is. And that's because there's so much in life that we can't control. And when we, again, hold our grip too tight, or we hold on too tightly to outcomes, things that didn't go our way, things that we're frustrated about, holding on to those, oh, this should have been like this, and like those types of feelings really don't get you anywhere. And then they snowball and you get more negative. So I think having a level of awareness of like, okay, life is gonna throw things at me. Again, going back to the knee thing, I just injured my knee. The first few days were really, really, really hard. I couldn't walk at all. And it's just like so frustrating. So I totally had to make a decision to kind of channel my energy and say, look, this gives me an opportunity to slow down. This gives me an opportunity to work more on my podcast and other things that I'm working on. So like, I kind of just had to decide to view it that way. And this one actually is a good relation to the quote of the week that we'll do later. But I think having a level of surrender and acceptance to the way things are, and then just deciding to look at things positively. It's hard. Sometimes it's really hard, but there's always something positive, or at least a level again of acceptance that you can express. What are some tips on how to focus on being present and not looking too far ahead? I really like this question because projecting into the future and kind of worrying about the future is something that I've struggled with often, because it's just so easy. I think it's so easy to get lost in like the what ifs of the future. It's so easy to get lost in like, you know, where things could go, or where you might want to end up, or what you want to achieve. But the problem is we get so focused on that we kind of stop taking action towards that thing, or it can become really overwhelming. So what I like to do is I like to just stop myself from like voicing those thoughts. If I have thoughts about like, oh my goodness, what am I doing? Where am I going with my life? What the heck is happening? If I have those types of thoughts, I don't voice them. And I try to be conscious. Again, you have to be self-aware. All of these things, you need to build self-awareness and be like, okay, what am I worrying about and how can I shift it? So when I get those thoughts, I'm very conscious of not voicing them out loud and not worrying about things. I think it's so important to be really mindful of what you say out loud and like how you speak to yourself. So I try to do that in order to like stop thinking too far ahead. And then I bring myself back and think, okay, what am I doing right now? Or what action can I take right now that actually would benefit me for my future, right? Like we all have goals and things we want to do. Sometimes you might be in a place where you're like, I have no idea what I want to be doing with my life. And when that is the case, I think take some time, write down the things you like, what makes you happy, what are you good at, what are your skills, and is there something today that you can just kind of start practicing? It could be artwork, it could be journaling, it could be writing, any kind of task that might bring you closer to your goal, right? Always try to get like 1% better each day. So that would be my advice for not looking too far ahead. Something I also like to do is listen to meditations that are geared towards presence. Eckhart Tolle is someone who I'm a big fan of. He has a YouTube page where he has a lot of meditations to be present, and he really teaches you how to just like sit and exist and allow yourself to be. All right, and the last question I'm going to answer, kind of a funny one. Someone asked how tall I am. I'm 5'4". I'm not super tall. I'm like average height. Anyways, oh, actually I got one more question I want to answer. I forgot about this one, but I think it's actually an interesting one. So it says, good habits about easy way to get cheap food. So in terms of affordable food, things are so expensive right now. So if you're struggling, I totally feel you. Life is really expensive. Something I started doing since I'm moving was actually ordering my groceries online, and I go and pick them up. So I don't do delivery service. I do just like they pick it out for me and I go pick it up. It only costs $1, so there's not all like the service fees and delivery fees and stuff. But the reason I like it and think that dollar is worth it is because I can see exactly how much I'm spending before I buy my stuff. I actually enjoy grocery shopping, so sometimes I kind of miss perusing a little bit, but what I like about it is it stops me from just grabbing random things, putting them in my cart, not really knowing how much I'm spending, and then you get to the checkout and you're like, wait, why was this like $150? So I have a strict budget. I think having a budget is really good for things. So I try to stick within my budget each week, and I order my groceries there so I can see, you know, how much I'm spending. So that's something that's helpful for me if you're trying to be conscious of how much you're spending on food. And I really prioritize like healthy foods. I don't buy a lot of like snacky kind of stuff. I enjoy making certain snacks myself. So yeah, I think that saves me money, is like prioritizing good quality food but not buying like a ton each week. So yeah, that would be my advice about that. So thank you for anyone who submitted a question. I appreciate it. Let's move on to the quote of the week. So the quote of the week, honestly, when I first read this, I thought it was a little bit cheesy, but it's kind of cute cheesy, and I think it really is helpful in my situation right now, and maybe it could help someone out there. So again, I wanted to find something related to like injury and healing, because I just injured my knee, and it's been something that's obviously a little bit frustrating. And so the quote of the week is, "Feelings are much like waves. We can't stop them from coming, but we can choose which ones to surf." And that is Jonathan Martinson. I thought this was just so cute, and it's so true, because I think sometimes we get caught in like, okay, I shouldn't be feeling this, or I shouldn't be feeling that, and like, how do I channel positivity when I'm just so angry about something? And I like this because you have to feel what you're feeling, and you have to in some form allow yourself to feel how you feel. If you're angry about something, pretending to not be angry is not going to make it better. So I think when I think about how I'm able to be a positive person and like look at things positively, it is a practice, it's ongoing, and it's not something that always is easy. When I injured my knee, the first few days, again, were so hard, and I was angry, I was upset, I was frustrated, I was sad, I was crying. Like, why did this have to happen again, right? I'm starting to question, like, what is the message behind this? It literally happened again last year. Like, it's repeating, and it's annoying. I have to cancel a concert I'm gonna go to. Like, there's all these things, and I think it goes back to, okay, you can choose which emotions, which waves to surf. You don't have to focus on that negativity. I think it's okay to feel it, and maybe if something is really big in your life, allow yourself a day to just be angry, be upset, you know, punch a pillow, scream into a pillow, like, listen to angry music. Like, I think allow yourself to feel it if you're in like an environment where that's okay, but then kind of you have to actively choose to let it go and choose to then spin over, like I was saying, to the positive side of like, okay, I have to surrender. My knee is injured. Whether I'm pissed about it or whether I continue living my life and be as positive as I can, like, the situation I'm in is the same, right? So I think this quote is helpful to say, like, yeah, you can choose what thoughts you think. You can choose what thoughts you voice out loud. And I'm really cautious about what I say out loud, because I really think our thoughts and our mind and the way we talk to ourselves is super powerful. So I try to be really conscious. Something I'm trying to experiment with is like saying out loud that I'm healing and that my knee is gonna get better really quickly, and like I'm kind of meditating on that. And it kind of sounds like, oh, like woo, and like maybe, you know, it kind of sounds like, oh, okay, that's a little much, but I genuinely believe the way we speak and the way we think manifest things into our life. So I'm gonna go for it and try it, and I'm gonna keep pushing through, and I'm gonna tell myself I'm healing, and I'm gonna do what I need to do to feel better emotionally about this not great situation. So I just thought that quote would be helpful for anyone dealing with loss, dealing with an injury, dealing with something that's bigger than everyday annoyances. Because I think a lot of my examples on here, I often talk about, oh, being frustrated in traffic or like dating kind of stuff, but the reality is some people are going through things that are bigger. And for me, this injury is one of those bigger things. Maybe someone in your life is sick or dealing with something, you know, and it's affecting you. Like, I understand that there are bigger things. There's bigger fish to fry. It's not all about everyday things. So for anyone experiencing something bigger, you know, think about this quote and try to really choose to surf, you know, the waves that are going to be more positive or lead you to some sense of surrender. So I'm going to read the quote one more time, as I often do, and then we will end off today. So again, feelings are much like waves. We can't stop them from coming, but we can choose which ones to surf. And that is, again, Jonathan Martinson. So I'm going to end this podcast here. Thank you so much for tuning in, whether you're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or on YouTube. I'm excited to have video content going up. And sometimes I'm going to post videos that aren't on the podcast as well. So please, please, please take a moment to go and subscribe to that channel. I would really appreciate it. Give this video a like. You know, we're obviously starting from scratch over here, which is kind of fun and exciting, and I'm into it. So again, thank you for listening and tuning in. I hope that something resonated with you, and I'm going to chat with you very, very soon. Cheers.